Imagine the world plunged into total chaos. Cities in flames, millions of soldiers marching toward death, families torn apart, and weapons capable of wiping out entire civilizations in seconds. Between 1939 and 1945, humanity experienced the most devastating conflict in its history, World War II. A confrontation that not only reshaped the map of the planet but also revealed both the best and the worst of humankind, from heroic acts of resistance to atrocities such as the Holocaust and the use of atomic bombs. World War II officially began on September 1, 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. In response, the United Kingdom and France declared war on Germany, triggering a conflict that would spread across Europe, Africa, Asia, and Oceania, involving countries from every continent, including Brazil. On one side were the Allies, led mainly by the United Kingdom, France, the Soviet Union, and the United States. On the other were the Axis powers, formed by Germany, Italy, and Japan. Over 6 years of war, it is estimated that between 60 and 70 million people died, making it the deadliest conflict in human history. But to understand how the world reached this point, we must return to the aftermath of World War I. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh punishments on Germany: loss of territory, severe military restrictions, and massive financial reparations. Many Germans believed they had been unfairly treated. This resentment, combined with the severe economic crisis of the 1920s and the Great Depression of 1929, created the perfect environment for the rise of authoritarian regimes. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power in 1933, promising to restore national pride, rebuild the economy, and expand German territory. In Italy, Benito Mussolini consolidated fascism with similar goals. Both regimes used massive propaganda campaigns and brutal repression to eliminate opposition. Hitler promoted the concept of Lebensraum, or living space, believing that the German people needed to conquer land in Eastern Europe in order to prosper. Thus, German expansionism began. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria in an event known as the Anschluss. Soon after, Hitler demanded the Sudetenland, a region of Czechoslovakia. The United Kingdom and France, desperate to avoid another war, accepted these demands in what became known as the Munich Agreement. This policy of appeasement only encouraged Hitler further. In 1939, the Nazis invaded almost all of Czechoslovakia. Soon after, they turned their attention to Poland. To avoid fighting on two fronts, Hitler signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. Then, on September 1, 1939, Germany launched its invasion of Poland using the tactic known as Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War. Fast, coordinated attacks with tanks, aircraft, and infantry. Poland fell within weeks. The war had officially begun. Between 1939 and 1941, Germany seemed unstoppable. It conquered Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Yugoslavia, and Greece at astonishing speed. Meanwhile, Japan expanded across Asia, dominating British, French, and Dutch territories. In 1941, Hitler made his boldest decision: to invade the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa. The plan was to defeat the Soviets within a few weeks. At first, German forces advanced rapidly, conquering vast areas such as Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltic states. But Soviet resistance, combined with the harsh Russian winter, began to slow the Nazi advance. 3 major cities became symbols of the struggle on the Eastern Front: Moscow, Leningrad, and Stalingrad. Leningrad was besieged for nearly 900 days, leading to extreme famine among its population. Moscow narrowly held out. But it was in Stalingrad that the war truly turned. Between 1942 and 1943, German and Soviet forces fought one of the bloodiest battles in history. The city was almost completely destroyed. It is estimated that between 1 and 2 million people died. The Soviets surrounded the German army and cut off its escape. Without supplies, the Nazis were forced to surrender. This defeat marked the beginning of the Allied turnaround in Europe. From 1943 onward, German forces were pushed back continuously. Another major defeat came at the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. Meanwhile, British and American forces expelled Axis troops from North Africa and advanced through Italy, where Brazilian troops also fought between 1944 and 1945. On June 6, 1944, one of the most decisive moments of the war took place: D-Day. About 150,000 Allied soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy, France, facing heavily fortified German defenses. Despite enormous losses, the Allies managed to establish a foothold and begin the liberation of Western Europe. Germany was now being attacked from both sides, the Soviets advancing from the east and the Allies from the west. In 1945, Soviet troops surrounded Berlin. As the Nazi regime collapsed, Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. On May 8, 1945, Germany officially surrendered. But the war was still raging in the Pacific. In Asia, Japan had begun its expansion in the 1930s, invading China and European colonies in Southeast Asia. In December 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. This brought the United States fully into the war. The Pacific War had begun. After early Japanese victories, the Americans turned the tide in decisive battles such as Midway, Guadalcanal, and Tarawa. From 1944 onward, the United States advanced toward Japanese territory, facing extreme resistance in battles like Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Japanese soldiers fought to the death, as surrender was considered dishonorable. Even in ruins, Japan refused to surrender. That was when the United States turned to a new and terrifying weapon. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. 3 days later, another bomb struck Nagasaki. The explosions instantly killed tens of thousands and caused destruction never before seen. Faced with devastation, Japan surrendered unconditionally on September 2, 1945. World War II had officially ended. The conflict left deep scars. Beyond the millions of deaths, the world witnessed horrors such as the Holocaust, in which around 6 million Jews were systematically murdered by the Nazis, along with other persecuted groups. Massacres like Katyn and Babi Yar also shocked humanity. After the war, Nazi and Japanese leaders were tried for war crimes in the Nuremberg trials and the International Military Tribunal for the Far East. The United Nations was created with the goal of preventing future global conflicts. The world became divided between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, marking the beginning of the Cold War. Western Europe was rebuilt with American aid through the Marshall Plan, while Eastern Europe fell under Soviet influence. World War II was not just a military conflict. It was a turning point in human history. It showed how far hatred, extremism, and authoritarianism could lead humanity, but it also revealed the strength of resistance, unity among nations, and the fight for freedom. Its impacts shaped the modern world and continue to influence politics, technology, and international relations to this day.